So, I'm Tamara. I'm Director of Artworks, actually CEO and Creative Director of Artworks. It's a new title. I'm still trying to get used to it. And before I start, I want to give a shout out to almost my entire team that's here, who are over there, sitting there. Thank you for coming and to support my husband. So good morning, everybody. Good morning. All right, Jeremy, let me see if I can make this happen. So this goes that way? No. So I don't follow the rules very well, and I'm not sure this is really about space, but we'll see if we can draw some analogies as we move forward. Today I want to talk really more about Cincinnati is, and creative placemaking, and employ maybe your talents to help us do a couple things like solve problems. So Artworks is, just to give you the background, for those of you who don't know, we have I'm going to read this because I want to make sure that I include everything. We have a great big old mission, and it's evolving, which is one of the things that I love about this organization, Artworks. But it's the creative and economic engine which unites citizens to transform our region, and we do it through our three big efforts. Public art, creative enterprise, and Art RX. So those three focus areas have been sort of the new catalyst for what I'm going to talk about today. But over the past 18 years, we've employed 2,500 teens, we've employed over 650 professional artists, and we're doing stuff like transforming clinics at Children's Hospital, Ronald McDonald House. We have a program called Springboard, which is the cornerstone of our creative enterprise big effort. And we've trained 129, 130 creative entrepreneurs and helped start 24 new businesses and nonprofits in our area. And this summer, there's 115 apprentices who are ages 14 to 21 working alongside about 36 artists, and they're working on 15 projects. To date we have, and this is where I'm sorry you guys are here because you're going to make me be honest or accurate. Let me think. 56 murals in 35 communities, is that right? Great. But we have 10 more going on around the city. And I think maybe many of you have seen some of the new ones downtown. There's one on the convention center. Somebody was talking about seeing it this morning, and it's just going to be phenomenal. John Ruthven is working with our team, and every day on Vine Street across from Jean Robert's table, every day if you drive by in the morning hours, John's actually up there painting Martha, the passenger pigeon. But there's a crowd of people down there watching. I don't think we've ever had this happen when we've been painting murals. And most of that audience is somewhere between 75 and 90. So we can boast that we have partnered to paint murals in Cincinnati, in about 38 of our communities, of our neighborhoods, and then 5 nearby cities. I guess this is a little bit about space. Anyway, what I want to talk about today is an exercise on how we change a landscape, how we look at ourselves, how we celebrate ourselves, how we define ourselves through something called creative placemaking. First, a little context. When I read the rules of the game here, we weren't supposed to use jargon. And I really don't want this to be an academic lesson, but I think it's such an incredible term for practitioners. I have a degree in urban planning, and I graduated from DAP in 1992. this wasn't a term, creative placemaking. But to me, it makes inherent sense. What we are doing in this day and age, probably because of technology, because of this ability to connect on so many ways so rapidly, is really literally through creativity, through excitement, through emotion, changing the way we live and where we live and how we do things. And I'm just kind of standing back and aghast at how rapidly things are changing and how incredibly cool it is to see this scalable, excitable change, especially in Cincinnati. So all y'all have these, most of y'all have these tags on that says your name, Creative Mornings, and then it says Cincinnati is. And that's part of this exercise today. So before we jump into that, I want to talk about creative placemaking. So creative placemaking is, all right, there's an organization, an entity called Art Place America. And it's a collaboration of 13 leading national and regional giant foundations, and 6 or so of the nation's largest banks. It seeks to advise and counsel, I don't know if that's the right word, but it seeks to work with communities, large and small, through some real strategic tenets, using these relationships with large foundations, with government entities like the NEA, even with the White House, with HUD, with agriculture, with all of these government, federal agencies to work on how, to work on issues and solve problems in communities, rural and urban. So just to give you an example, the participating foundations that have come together, Bloomberg Philanthropies, the Ford Foundation, the Knight Foundation, the Kresge Foundation, little guys, the McKnight Foundation, the Mellon Foundation, the William Penn Foundation, and the Rockefeller Foundation, among a few. And then the NEA has kicked some money in. And so Art Place is investing in arts and culture, and at the heart of their portfolio, they're integrating strategies that can drive vibrancy and diversity, and making these strategies so powerful that they transform communities. It's big words, big words. So to date, and this is where it comes in, Art Place has awarded 134 grants to 124 organizations in 79 communities across the United States. Well, 2 years ago, Artworks requested $350,000 from Art Place, and we were among the first group in that very first batch to receive an Art Place award. We got $150,000, half of what we asked for, but we were completely surprised, and this was a case where we knew we wanted to launch this program in that creative enterprise big effort called Springboard, but this was the cart before the horse, because all we did was have a model. We had no place, we had a manual, we had no experts, we had no facilitators, we had no students, we had no notion of how we were going to put this together, but yet Art Place saw in this a seed of a really incredible idea. And so they helped to launch us. Shortly thereafter, this new buzzword, creative placemaking, sort of started to appear. I don't know if how many of you have ever heard this term. Some planners, my team, some folks who have been through Springboard. So I'm going to read this to you because I think that it will help to define this little exercise that I want to do today in our little interactive creative morning. So creative placemaking is partnerships in public, private, nonprofit, and community sectors, strategically shaping the physical and social character of a neighborhood, town, city, region around arts and cultural activities. Creative placemaking animates public and private spaces, rejuvenates structures and streetscapes, improves local business viability, public safety, It brings diverse people together to celebrate, inspire, and be inspired. It's generating a lot of buzz this term among people who shape communities large and small. And I suspect that everybody in this room can say they have sort of a hand in being part of this creative community that's changing Cincinnati. Cincinnati is. So we're increasingly using and finally understanding how to use the arts and creativity as a vehicle to change. But the vibrancy measures and how we're learning to measure creative placemaking and its effects and its success don't necessarily have anything to do with art. So we're painting murals, we're transforming bus stops, we are working in hospitals and putting art on the walls and creating a more healthful, environmentally healing kind of atmosphere. But that's not the measure. 100 murals, 20 bus stops, that's an output or an outcome. The real measure, turns out, of vibrancy and how we're changing things is foot traffic, walkability, scalability. How many people are on their cell phones? Really. Safety, obviously, and sort of some of the visual tenets of what we see as we're walking down the street. Certainly, I know that I park my car every day in a parking lot on Jackson and 12th, and there's a mural that's right behind where I park my car, and artworks painted that mural. Actually, Amanda Checo painted that mural many years ago, and to this day, it still makes me smile. I would consider that a vibrancy indicator, but it's not that mural, it's what it does to me. Thanks for smiling, David's pointing at you. So, by the way, who in this room is not in the creative industry? What do you do?
Consulting, in business. It's sort of creative.
It's sort of creative.
It's not dead on the arts.
But creativity isn't just the arts anymore. So you're solving problems.
But everybody's in a creative job that if you define it that far.
Maybe. I would argue that probably 90% of folks who are working are in a creative job. I agree. But did you know that in this country there's 2 million artists? There's 3.6 million cultural workers, which could be very different than being a creative worker. 4.9 million cultural industry jobs. That's a pretty staggering numbers, considering that when I was getting ready to go to college and I told my parents that I thought I wanted to be an artist, they thought I was crazy. And then when I told them that I wanted to be a lawyer, they thought I was even crazier. So I think I landed in the right place. So I just think that as our definition of how we make cities better, how we use space, how we grow creativity in our cities gets broader and broader, to your point. Everybody's got to be creative. I think artists, and we say this a lot in our office, artists are problem solvers. So employing creativity to make change, to go to work every day and affect something, I think isn't just being a painter or just being a musician, but I think it helps to be able to use those creative juices when you're trying to affect change in an urban setting like Cincinnati. So as we're moving forward, I wanted to not just talk about artworks, but to share some examples that we've dug up over the past couple years of things we love, that are inspiration, that are places that we feel are incredibly creative. But it's not just about place, it's also about people and performance and ephemeral experiences. It's staggering to me how much I can see changed across this country and in other places where we are just so hungry to have experiences that are creative, that engage us, that connect us. It's so different than that 1960s, 1970s suburban experience where you went home to your house and you pulled into your garage and you lived in your house, maybe in your backyard. This age, this urban age that we're living in, is getting people out into the streets. And I think we are hungry to have exchange and communications and experiences that feed our imaginations. So here's something, I'm going to totally butcher this. Who speaks German in here? Anybody? So this is called, in English, Musical Rain in Dresden. It's the building that sings. When you listen to this on YouTube, again, technology, you hear on the video some guy talking in German. It's called Regen Wasserspiel is the title of this piece of art. You hear a guy talking in German throughout, so there's lots of comments on the comment page on YouTube. It's like, shut up, I want to hear the music because this building is supposed to sing. And several about how the sounds induced the need to pee. But my favorite comment was, I came here to listen to some sort of water music, heard a guy babbling on, and sounds of someone taking a piss in the morning after sex. It looks cool though. It reminds me a little bit of like a Rube Goldberg piece, you know? I think it's really, really cool. So sometimes creative placemaking can be political. Detroit, I like to say, is a bit of an anarchic place, but hey, seize the moment. I don't know if you've heard about or seen the Heidelberg Project. It's actually been going on since the 60s. So this was one of the first endeavors by an artist, a guy named Tyree Guyton. He had just gotten out of the Army. He came back to Detroit after the riots in '67, and he saw that his neighborhood looked like it had been bombed. And so this was his response. He got some paint, and he got some kids in the neighborhood, and they started painting the houses in the neighborhood. And then they started collecting all the debris and garbage and building cool stuff and doing these installations around it. And now it has spread to this entire street, Heidelberg Street. It's like an outdoor museum, but it's also a statement. It's also a way to take back the neighborhood, and it was also a way to connect community. And they're going all over the country talking about this, explaining why they could do this in Detroit. You couldn't get away with this in Cincinnati. I swear to you that, they would just shut you down. That's the anarchy. But it's a political statement. It's like, hey, my city. And then there's Paris. I was talking about Paris this morning. Whoops. This is the Stravinsky fountain. I'm seeing a lot of heads bob. It is was done in the 80s by an artist husband and wife team, Nikki de Saint Paul and Jean Tingley. And it is one of the most lyrical, most beautiful fountains, I think, in the world. It makes you smile, it's vibrant, it's colorful. It doesn't sing like that building sings, but it tingles. It's really wonderful. What's interesting about this is it's right near the Pompidou Center, but it's also in an area of Paris that was incredibly run down, and now it's obviously a #1 tourist destination. And it's just like a delight to watch people interact with this as you're sitting by the fountainside. Another thing that we have noticed, and this is I am going to bring a little bit of our works into this, is how public art can make a place. This mural was done in 2008, and became an instant icon for the neighborhood, for Northside. And working in a neighborhood that's highly evolved, like Northside, to create art can be a challenge for us. When you have, and we love this, at least I do. I know it's challenging, but it's so rewarding because you have a group of concerned, engaged, involved citizens who come together and want to see good things happen in their space. And what you get after many, many tries is artist Tim Parsley responding to how these neighbors, how this community feels about the change in their neighborhood. So we put this mural up. It was the first mural that we did in the autumn, and it fronts Hoffner Park, which now has the farmers market and lots of festivals and lots of play, and the neighborhood is just so vibrant. I think there was an article in the paper this week again about how Northside is thriving as a neighborhood. This is, you know, somebody asked me once about have we had any failures in the work that we've done, and of course we have, and of course we've learned from it. This was one of the scariest moments because this mural costs, I don't know, $20,000, $30,000 to put up. And about 3 months after we put it up, we noticed that up in the right-hand corner, some of the paint, big chunks of paint was falling off the wall. And Colleen and I were like, oh my God, we painted it in the fall and maybe it got too cold and the paint didn't dry. And I think 6 years later, it turns out that maybe we just missed the spot when we were doing our priming and our prepping because the mural is fine. And we were trying to figure out how we're going to solve this problem. How are we going to take this entire mural off the wall? What if there's mold behind it? What if there's giant gaps of air that are just pushing this paint off? But it lives today, and we fixed that little area. But you know, those are the things. Those are some of the challenges of art making in place. So I said earlier that creative placemaking is about places. It's also about people. This is just a little snapshot of Springboard and one of our classes. And what I want to share with you about this is that it's our notion that if we can make art in communities and we can put giant murals on walls, we also think that we can take some of these tenets and pull them together to work with people, with individuals in creative businesses. That could be making seed bombs that are distributed nationally, or in the food sector, or obviously in photography or filmmaking. The woman in the foreground has the most gorgeous, gorgeous voice and is interested in making music and children's albums. But often, and I think I'm finding this is true more than not, with many artists and going to art school and learning your craft, you don't get any training on how to market yourself. You don't get any training on how to create a business. You may be the most incredible painter in the world and leave art school with no skills to go out into the world. And so that's what Springboard is about. It's an intensive course over 8 weeks that takes you through the practice of learning how to make yourself a business. Turning your passion into sustainable income. So since we've started this program, I said earlier, a number of businesses and nonprofits have launched, not just in Over the Rhine and in Northside, but also with our neighbors to the south in Covington and in up north in East Walnut Hills. But one of our core tenets at Artworks is learning to weave together all of our talent. So this summer, we are partnering with Franny Kroner from Feast and the Midwest Culinary Institute at Cincinnati State, and we're going to launch a snack mix called Random Snacks of Kindness. Well, this ultimate snack mix will be on shelves just in time for the holidays. And what Franny's business plan is to take this idea, working with our apprentices, to create products that give back to the community. And we got to taste test earlier this week, and I think you all are in for a huge treat when it comes time to hit the shelf. So look for that soon. I found this to be one of the more compelling kinds of initiatives and uses of space. I hadn't seen this, and I was putting this presentation together. This is called Bodies in Urban Spaces. It was created, and the first time it was launched, it was 2007, 2008 in Europe. It's choreographers, it's dancers, and it's really pretty incredible. It was so compelling that I put actually 2 photos in here. and it goes on. There's the documentation of this is amazing. And I've seen, you know, flash mobs, flash dancing, flash singing, all this stuff kind of take over. They did it once in Grand Central Station, and all of a sudden it's happening everywhere. I haven't heard about this. I haven't seen much buzz about this, but I'm thinking it's going to pop up in other cities around the world. I don't know how they do that. So, ephemeral work. This is Central Parkway, and this is Cincinnati's own yarn bombers. And speaking of, you know, this really incredibly creative woman named Magdalena or Marta, who was from Texas, started yarn bombing trees in Texas. And then the next thing you know, this yarn bombing is popping up everywhere. Well, a good friend of ours named Pam Kravitz, who's an incredible artist, came to us with an idea. And the idea was to bomb Central Parkway. That's huge. There's 7 traffic islands. But the idea to us was much more compelling because she wanted to use the community at large to help do this. There's 7 traffic islands. I think there were 104 trees, and there were 24 light posts, and there was sculpture and other kinds of signage. And she wanted to cover every square inch with yarn. And I'm like, Pam, that's impossible. She said, no, it's not, because I'm going to go out into the community and I'm going to get community volunteers to knit. So over 100 people were given assignments, and they'd be given an assignment like, please knit me something that's 20 inches long and 5 inches wide and make it bright orange. And then bring it down to this place at this time on this date, and we're not going to tell you what this is for. So over the course of the summer, I think that these guys did like little teaser bombs in probably 27 different locations in about 3 months, culminating in the Central Parkway yarn bombing, or what we called Operation Bomb Central, in late September, where people who were 6 and people who were 90 were dressed in blonde wigs, wearing sunglasses and super groovy clothes, climbing on ladders, yarn bombing the entire parkway, and the city of Cincinnati said, yes, this is cool. So they even bombed what I think is probably the tick, which I think is, I refer to lovingly, I hope I am not offending anybody, as one of the ugliest pieces of public sculpture that we have in the city. Without this black and white wonderful stuff on there, it is this red thing that lives at the end of Central Parkway on the western edge of the islands. And it is there by decree because it was a gift to the city, and they must have some kind of ordinance where it has to be out. And nobody tags them. Nobody has done anything to this thing like this. All right, so here's our exercise today. This is a view from the terrace at the Horseshoe Casino, looking towards the Justice Center. It's the only casino that I know of in this country that's built directly across the street from a jail. It's on 23 acres. I think it's like, where can we put something in downtown? So it opened up about 4 months ago, and since then almost 1.2 million people have graced its doors. And say what you will about it, they've gone there to play, to gamble, to eat, to listen to music outside on their horseshoe lawn. It's really bringing people downtown. The revenues are ramping up from what I understand in a real positive way, and they're expected to average just under $20 million this year, and attract somewhere between 5 and 6 million visitors annually. That's huge. But wait, there's more. So the economic impact on the city goes to this little microcosm called the neighborhood, and that's sort of the Pendleton community and the community that surrounds it. So the investment from the casino, nearly $27 million in improvements surrounding the neighborhood have been made And that includes 16 million in infrastructure improvements. It includes $3.6 million in optional projects, which I'll get to in a minute, and $7.4 million in neighborhood projects. The Pendleton neighborhood is right up the street, and there's new landscaping, there's new road work, there's new signage, there's new traffic lights, there's going to be new traffic patterns in there, but it's a tremendous impact, and it's all because of this tax increment financing, this TIF dollars from the casino. So say what you will about the casino. Has anybody been in the casino? Has anybody gambled? Just curious. Has anybody won any money? Great. I didn't ask that yet. So one of the outcomes is this new public art installation in the Pendleton community. And Artworks is managing this project, this process. And we've been working with the community, with community engagement. We've hired a husband and wife team from California called Wow House, and they did a series of community engagements that were extraordinary. What we found out about the Pendleton community is it really is a community. This is where people live. You know, there's no restaurants in that community. There's a couple of businesses in that community. And there's the Pendleton Art Center, of course, which has been a stakeholder in that community for many years. But it really is residential. So our response to that was to create something, ways that the community could engage with us so we could figure out what the art will look like. And stay tuned, because we'll be unveiling plans for that in the coming months, and then the actual work sometime next October, November, May, June, spring. Okay. But I want to talk about that pink line. Jail, okay, so we have casino, and we have a jail. And we have a chain link fence, which surrounds a parking lot. And the Casino Neighborhood Working Group, Bridging Broadway, which did so much work, laying the groundwork to make this casino a better place, identified some key areas where they felt that urban enhancements would help make the surroundings more attractive, not just for folks that go to the casino, but for folks like us that are walking around our neighborhood, walking around downtown, which is I call our neighborhood. So this fence it's ugly, it's chain link, it fronts a parking lot. It's an installation that is 700 feet long, about 8 feet high, but the footprint is only about 12 inches. We won an award, roughly $200,000, to figure out how to improve this space, how to mask the parking lot, how to get rid of an ugly chain link fence, how to dress up the front door, our back door, a wayfinding system, just the area in general. It's a long, long area. I mean, 700 linear feet. It's really long. So we went to the Casino Neighborhood Working Group, and we fronted a process, which we usually do when we're making art, when we're changing space, and that's to work in a community engagement kind of a process. I think you all have on tags that say, hello, my name is, and Cincinnati is ... And what we want to do with this wall, we think, is to talk about what Cincinnati is to us. To talk to all those visitors, those 5 to 7 million people who are going to walk down that street if they get out of their cars, and go to other places in our city. So we wanted to be responsive to the community in how we begin to tackle this. I mean, artists and creatives are problem solvers. So we're going to start here today and talk about what the response is when you see this, whatever, this fence, this art fence, for the first time. So the outcome matters, and we want to make sure that we accomplish something that makes a difference in the space and how we're using the space. So we work with this guy, his name is Mike Fleisch, and he does some of our facilitations for us when we go into neighborhoods. And he's got a lot of creative ways to bring communities together, community members together, to talk about what their vision is for a wall or a project. And he came up with this extraordinary way to define outcomes through community engagement. This is my new favorite image, drawn from our community engagement process in Pendleton. And I just love this because these kids are like, they're framing something, they're looking at something differently. They've probably never had the opportunity to think about their neighborhood in this way, to look at the little details and to pick those things out and to think about where they live and why they like where they live, and to work with, I don't know, 80, 90 other kids and adults who came out to frame the Pendleton neighborhood. So today, we're going to pass out a Mad Lib. And I'd like you guys to work in teams to fill in the blanks. It'll take a couple minutes. And then I'm going to ask some folks to, I see people leaving, they don't want to read film. Then I'm going to ask some folks to stand up and read this. And I'm hoping that this is sort of the beginning of answering not only Cincinnati is, but expectations when you're walking out of the casino, up 8th Street, in front of our great jail justice center. Let's see what we can come up with.
Before you read it, for this one you can just fill in the blanks with whatever you want. It doesn't have to be feeling so like it's not traditional math.
People feel rejuvenated when they're using my word. You come up with something else. I just sometimes hear it and nobody else hears it.
Alright, I'm going to ask for volunteers, and to start off, I'd love to have 3 or 4 people read their Mad Lib, and I'm hoping that at the end of the day it defines what Cincinnati is, and maybe gives us a jumping off point for the creative, thematic, artistic outcome of this art fence wall.
Jesus, I just left the Horseshoe Casino where I was losing, feeling so screwed because I lost a lip. So then I was walking with my sadness, that's my relationship, and I saw this art fence surrounding the Justice Center. It's incredibly inspiring, and when I saw it, I noticed this detail, and I just can't get it out of my mind. It made me think Cincinnati is the shit. I can't believe they were.
That's exactly what we wanted. Somebody else spoke up more.
Hey, I just left the Horseshoe Casino where I was cajoling, feeling so mystified because I missed a jackpot. So then I was walking with myself when I saw this art fence surrounding the Justice Center. It's incredibly incredible. When I saw it, I noticed it is captivating, and now I can't get it out of my mind. It made me think Cincinnati is interesting. I can't believe they love art.
That's really cool.
Oh.
What?
Holy streetcar! I just left the Horseshoe Casino where I was doing the money dance and feeling so giddy because I met a Jerry Springer lookalike. So then I was walking with my estranged parent. I have no idea where they get these things. Okay. When I saw this art fence surrounding the Justice Center, it's incredibly humbling. When I saw it, I noticed it is epic, and I just can't get it out of my mind. It made me think that Cincinnati is wicked cool. I can't believe that ain't the whole thing.
Suzanne, I just left the Horseshoe Casino where I was rolling, and I'm feeling high because I hit 6s the hard way. So then I was walking with my grandma, and I saw this art fence surrounding the Justice Center. It's incredibly live. When I saw it, I noticed it was textual, and now I can't get it out of my mind. It made me think Cincinnati was fun. I can't believe they've come so far.
That's great. One more? Go ahead.
F-bomb.
No.
Where I was losing and I'm feeling so discouraged. discouraged because I lost a week's worth of pay. So then I was walking with my boo when I saw this art fence surrounding the Justice Center. It's incredibly hopeful. When I saw it, I noticed it is so vibrant and I can't get it out of my mind. It made me think Cincinnati is no longer nasty. I can't believe they let me back in.
Anybody else? Okay, well, the point of this is that I think we did a little bit to get you guys engaged, to understand maybe how we start thinking about ourselves as a city, how we start thinking about a place, how we're going to engage with the place, and how maybe we're going to change the face of the place. The spaces that we're living in now are changing so rapidly, from in our heads to on our PDFs to our computers to whatever it is, to the streets that we're living in. I for one, am just incredibly amazed at the vibrancy in over the Rhine, in downtown, in Northside, out on our streets, even in neighborhoods that maybe we call the more disenfranchised neighborhoods, where there's, like Price Hill, where there's such a tremendous amount of energy and change and enthusiasm and optimism. I think it's a wonderful time to be creative and to be able to be creative in this city, for sure, maybe even across the country, hopefully around the globe. And I think that as we move towards more kinds of space-changing, emotionally charged opportunities for our city, that interacting and engaging in this way, and I bet there's some really, really funny Mad Libs there, that try to answer how we're going to build Cincinnati differently and make it our own and talk about Cincinnati. Because at the end of the day, those of us who are from here and those of us who have chosen to make Cincinnati our home now and are committed to staying here and making it a better place, at least while we're here, get to do things that in the past, historically, never was part of the vernacular of how cities are built. And I think it's working, because I see lots of awesomes and beautiful and amazing Cincinnati is on your name tags. I wonder if anybody, just out of curiosity, said Cincinnati is a shitty place to live. Cincinnati is the city that sings. Cincinnati is the Queen City. You know, I think that we get to define and fill in that blank, and then we take that with us every day. And I know that probably most of you in this room are working really hard every day to make Cincinnati the amazing, awesome, I don't know, beautiful, cornhole, three-way city that it is. I do want to open this up to questions. I think we might have a minute, a couple minutes, and a couple questions. This is sort of the aspirational, inspirational end slide. Maybe the art fence will look like this. We're not sure. So if there's any questions, I know I didn't really talk about space much, but
You did a good job.
public space.
I got one.
You did.
I got a question about the Tarbell mural.
We can talk about our murals.
That's an artwork.
Yes, it is.
Did you anticipate the political discussion that that kind of sparked? Was that intended, or did that impact your future projects? How you sort of think about what you put on the mural?
We did a lot of, we had a lot of discussion about that mural. Actually, that mural, that image was a snapshot that Colleen took during the opening day parade when Jim Tarbell was channeling Peanut Jim. So that's really what that's about. It's a nod to, and I believe Jim Tarbell is one of Cincinnati's greatest ambassadors. We had a moment, there was a moment where there was some discourse. Probably our most controversial mural is in Camp Washington, with George Washington in a dress. He's wearing a gown, and it's lots of symbolism. It's Campy Washington, and you know, it's Shen's costume. And we did probably did not anticipate the amount of discourse we got from that mural. Or, you know, with Tarbell, we were ready. We made Jim promise he wouldn't run for office again, that he would not be a politician, and of course, the very next year, he ran for county commissioner. But we love that mural.
I would just like to say great art does that, and you know, more than just pretty pictures. I think that's really the way you should go.
I think we agree. I think it's really important to make places beautiful or interesting, but some of the best commentaries we get are when people don't like what we've done, and it creates a dialogue. And I think that with public art, you always have to be a little bit careful, because we certainly are not out to offend, but we would like to spark conversations and spark that sort of more about learning about art and the discussion. And quite honestly, I've seen complete strangers stop and talk to each other because they're looking at a piece of art, and that's a good thing for a community.
You don't have a name tag, so what would you have put for Cincinnati? And
You know, I'm really partial to the Queen City right now for a whole lot of reasons, but it's such a gem of a place, and I really love this city, and I'm so proud of us, so I think that's what I would say.
You can't fit that on.
Not Queen City.
I think you pointed out something, people more readily tell you what they don't like, but they don't tell you what you do well. And you guys do an awesome job, and I think you guys deserve that.
This is the time and this is the place, and we are so damn lucky to be able to do what we do. We get to do this. We're lucky. You want to read your map? Not a good idea. Any other questions? I don't put my husband on the spot. Go, do it.
Balls. I just left the horseshoe casino where I was losing my ass. And I was feeling so weak because I donated a gallon of plasma. And I was walking with my low plasma level body, and I saw the art fence surrounding the Justice Center. It's incredibly exhausting. When I saw it, it was spectacular, and I can't get it out of my mind. Maybe because Cincinnati is removing its head from feeling crap. I can't believe this. I can't believe they continue to lead our city today.
Thank you. Any finals? Yes, yes.
How would somebody get more involved with artworks? How can the public get involved?
Oh, God. Our website is artworkcincinnati.org. And on that site, you will find opportunities to volunteer. We have a box truck carnival as part of Midpoint Music Festival coming up in September. There's ways to apply for murals. We're working on ways to put, I believe, David, we talked about this, Colleen, we talked about ways for you guys to give us ideas for public art projects, probably temporary or ephemeral installations. Every spring, we interview in this very room probably 400 kids for jobs, which is one of the coolest things we do. So that's, you know, and also sign up for our newsletters. They're fantastic. You had a question.
Yes, being newer to the city,
Uh-huh.
I saw a couple of examples of your work. Is there on your website a place where you can, there's a map of the city where you can find these pieces, or do you just want to name some prominent pieces?
Where to find our works? Well, I'll tell you what, the ones that off the top of my head that I'd love to hear your feedback on are our newest works. And I think there's 5 of them going on in this sort of core area, starting in the Pendleton, across from the Pendleton Art Center. There's a gorgeous project that's mural that's going to complement the Wow House installation. There are 2 murals right off of Vine Street, one at 12th and Vine, and that's in partnership with the Art Academy. And then there's a mural that we're doing in partnership with Tender Mercies, which is near and dear to my heart. The Ruthven mural on Vine Street across from Jean Robert's table, almost complete. And then the Duke Energy mural on the, what is that? Is that 6th and, yeah. Which has a couple more weeks, but it's really fun to watch that one come up because it's based on the mosaics that are at Union Terminal and the airport. And I think it's going to be gorgeous. And our new website, which we're going to be launching sometime in September, will have a complete listing of where you can find our works. And hopefully a mobile app if anybody wants to donate the technology to do that. I know I'm talking to a room full of websites.
Real quick, what is your favorite mural?
Yeah. You know, when we did the big pig gig in 2000, people would say to me, "What's your favorite pig?" And we had 425 pigs on the street, and I would answer, "The one that's not out yet." Yeah. I like them all. I have that. There are some that I really do not like, but I like them all. I think they're extraordinary. And just one final thought about that, creating spaces. When you see these murals, in particular, we do a lot more than just murals, but when you see the murals and you think about what it takes to get a mural on the wall, and the fact that young, talented teenagers are working alongside professional artists to create these, is pretty extraordinary. And I think we're one of the very few mural programs in the country that really employs and engages kids to be on these walls alongside a professional artist. And it is, it's an endeavor. It is, especially on days like today, you love it, but when it's 100 degrees out and they're out there, it's hard work. Thank you very much.